Dom Perignon is a highly sought-after champagne brand that produces exceptional champagnes and is widely recognized as a worldwide icon of French sophistication and style. It goes hand in hand with indulgence and opulent celebrations, whether they be birthday parties, anniversaries, or corporate milestones. Dom Perignon produces about 5 million bottles per year and is on average $250 to $400 a bottle.
We have a Dom Perignon 71 at $120.
That'll be fine, pal.
So that means that Dom Perignon is making $200 billion worth of champagne sales per year. And needless to say that they are one of the top brands right now in the business. But did you know that Dom Perignon wasn't merely just a brand name? It's actually a real person. He is a French Benedictine monk that lives in the 1700s, which people actually claim that Dom Perignon is the father of champagne, who is the inventor of the fine bubbles that we learn to love and cherish. Is this actually the truth, or is it just another knockoff marketing campaign that just wants to rag billions and billions of dollars of wine lovers like us? So naturally, being a wine lover like me, I went to work and did some digging, so you don't have to. First of all, our beloved champagne father figure didn't even want the bubbles to begin with. All his work, he's been trying to mitigate and avoid second fermentation, which creates the CO2 in the bottle while the champagne ages. Wait a minute, if Dom Perignon spent all his life making a wine without bubbles, how can he be the father of champagne? He's more of a killer of champagne, isn't he? What about 2 centuries of deceiving wine lovers that with every pop of a Dom Perignon is sipping on a champagne inventor's life's work? A little shady, isn't it? Before you thought it was all Dom Perignon's marketing scheme to trick the average wine drinker, you are once again mistaken. Before champagne was even famous, he had passed away at the year of 1715. The man behind the scenes was the company Moet et Chandon, which had purchased the Dom Perignon brand at 1927. But who do we need to give credit to the person that invented the champagne method? It would be Madame Veuve Clicquot. She was the one that rightfully invented the champagne method, or method champenois. Before we get any further, what exactly is the method champenois, or the traditional method? Here's how you make it. Well, you gotta start with a still wine, which is how you make any other wine, where the yeast ate all the sugar in the grape juice and fermented into a dry wine. This is the first fermentation. When you want to do the second fermentation, you need to reintroduce the yeast and the sugar so that the second fermentation can happen. Well, at this point, the yeast has been consuming the sugar that has been provided in this airtight bottle, and slowly CO2 has been produced as a byproduct and just kept in the bottle, ready to burst out anytime soon. However, issues arose every spring when the yeast was reawakened in the bottle and creates lots of CO2 and causing the bottles to explode on Dom Perignon. Therefore, he studied how to avoid the explosion by warding off re-fermentation. He became an advocate for harvesting in cold conditions small crops and blending grapes before sending them to the press. Although he wasn't the one to invent the second fermentation, but through his practice of avoiding re-fermentation, these methods has actually been adapted to the modern day champagne method. By blending grapes in champagne, he's improved the quality of the wines and also introducing red grapes by accident like Pinot Noir is to avoid re-fermentation. By blending, he also blended wines from different vineyards to produce a superior cuvée. And by pressing the grapes, he has invented this coquart press that is traditionally used in champagne. Secondly, he did a lot of major adjustments on the champagne bottle. This is due to the reasons that the cork could just erupt unannounced, giving champagne a risque reputation as the devil's wine. In fact, a 19th century wine trader once said that cellar hands had to wear wire and gaze masks while they're handling the champagne bottles to avoid to hit in the eye, where in that cellar there were already 3 men who had each lost their eye. Well, I guess in that case, I could empathize with Dom Perignon, where he wouldn't think the second fermentation is a great thing. So he introduced corks instead of wood to seal the bottles. Fun fact, he actually saw Spanish travelers use tree bark to plug their water gourds. This is how he came up with the cork idea. He used thicker glass bottles that's made with English glass, which is coal-fired, more resilient than the wood-fired glass typically used in France at that time. And finally, he used hemp string soaked in oil to keep the wines fresh as well. Well, this myth of Dom Perignon being the father of champagne actually was created by one of his successors at Abbey of Haute-Villers that goes by the name of Dom Perignon. He falsely stated that Perignon invented champagne and other exaggerated stories to generate interest in and prestige for the church.